All right, let's jump right in. We're going to tackle a huge question today, one that kind of gets at the heart of everything. Is democracy an illusion? We're going to walk through this really fascinating dialogue that pokes holes in this whole idea of power to the people. It basically asks, are we really in control? Let's do this.
We're all taught to see democracy as this peak achievement, right? Where logic and language come together and we, the rational people, get to decide our future. It's a beautiful idea for sure, but the source material we're looking at today throws a wrench in all that. It asks a pretty brutal question. Is any of that actually real?
Okay, so first up, let's talk about the big idea, the democratic ideal itself. And it all starts with that one simple, powerful promise: power to the people.
And this is the argument we all grew up with, right? The whole system is only legitimate because we, the people, agree to it. Everybody gets a voice, everybody gets a vote. And because of that, power is supposed to be with all of us, not just some elite few. It really is an inspiring idea.
But right away, this dialogue throws down a challenge. Is it really power to the people, or is it just the illusion of power? And that right there is the big conflict we're going to dig into.
So, that brings us to our first big hurdle, the rational voter problem. And what's interesting here is that this critique isn't about the system itself. It's about us, the voters. It's all about our knowledge versus, well, our apathy.
Now, the classic defense is super optimistic. I mean, come on, it's the internet age. Information is literally everywhere. We could all become experts on tax policy or foreign relations. The argument goes that we're all perfectly capable of making smart choices. But here's the kicker. Are we actually motivated to do all that work?
And that leads us to this really key concept, rational ignorance. Now, this isn't about calling people dumb, not at all. It's actually about people being, well, rational. Think about it. It takes hours and hours to really get your head around a complicated issue. So why would you spend all that time and energy when your one single vote is statistically meaningless? It has almost no chance of actually changing the result. So from that point of view, it's totally logical to just not bother, to stay ignorant.
The source material uses this great analogy to drive the point home. Imagine someone walks up to you and says, "Hey, we need you to pick the new CEO for a massive tech company." But, nothing about tech, or finance, or management. That's kind of what it's like, isn't it? We're being asked to make these huge, monumental decisions with nowhere near enough information.
Okay, so we've talked about the individual voter. Now let's zoom out and look at the collective. This brings us to the next big critique, the tyranny of the majority. And this is where the idea of democracy itself can get pretty dark.
So the defense is always, hey, but democracy is our shield. It protects us from tyrants. If some leader gets corrupt or goes off the rails, we have the ultimate weapon. We can just vote him out. Simple. It's our #1 protection.
Okay, but what happens when 51% of the people vote to force their will on the other 49%? I mean, that decision is totally democratic. It's completely legal. But if you're in that 49%, which is a huge chunk of people, it probably feels a lot like oppression, doesn't it? It's just oppression with a rubber stamp.
And that's the real paradox here. The exact same thing, majority rule, that's supposed to save us from one tyrant can just become a different kind of tyranny, the tyranny of the biggest group. It's like democracy has these two faces, and we often only want to look at the nice one.
All right, so if you're a defender of democracy, you've got to come back for this. You'd say, but what about checks and balances? The idea is that the system has these built-in firewalls to stop things from just turning into mob rule.
And look, that's a really solid point. The people who designed systems like the US Constitution, for example, were terrified of mob rule. That's why they built a republic, not a pure, direct democracy. They put in things like courts and a separation of powers, specifically to hit the brakes and protect the minority from getting steamrolled.
But here comes the rebuttal from our source. The argument is that those checks and balances, they're not working like brakes anymore. They've just become another part of the political battlefield. And with social media pouring gasoline on the fire, the whole system is now driven by the exact same raw, popular emotion it was designed to control. Reason has kind of left the building.
Which leads to a really cynical, but maybe the most important question of all. In a system where you need a mountain of cash just to get elected, who do politicians really work for? Is it the voters they see once every couple of years? Is it the Constitution they put their hand on? Or is it the wealthy donors who bankroll their whole career?
So all of this, it all builds to one final huge idea, the ultimate myth of control. And this is where the whole debate gets flipped on its head.
because it starts to question what power even is. I mean, after hearing all this criticism, you're probably thinking, okay, smart guy, if democracy is so broken, what's the alternative, right? Like, what are we supposed to do? Let a bunch of experts rule us? Bring back a king? History is not exactly filled with great stories about how those turned out.
And this is the real knockout punch of the whole argument. The source says that looking for an alternative is the wrong question. Why? Because you're already living in it. The biggest decisions are already being made by unelected people, central bankers, intelligence agencies, powerful corporate interests. In this view, democracy is just the stage play that we all watch to make it feel like we're in charge.
So that's the really challenging idea we're left with. Maybe the question isn't, how do we fix democracy? Maybe we should be asking a totally different set of questions. If we just assume for a second that there are powerful, unelected forces guiding things, then the real conversation should be, who exactly are they? What do they want? And most importantly, are their decisions actually good for the rest of us? And that's really the big, unanswered question to chew on from all this.